Hey guys, Jim from Import Image Racing, and today is a super exciting day. We begin our journey for performance with our IIR Power Pack with CT tuning. You're not going to want to miss this. Like I mentioned before, we're installing all kinds of goodies to help boost performance and power for our VB chassis WRX. We're coupling all of our performance parts with a CT Tuning Pro Tune to achieve our performance goals. We're going to be focusing on the intake for part 1 of our series, but for more information on Import Image Power Packs, click on the link below. As you can see, we've chosen the ETS Intake for our build. Quality, looks, and this sweet billet venturi make this a great choice for our series. The intake comes with a filter, MAF housing, pipe, and couplers. The airbox is a separate piece that can be added at the time of purchase or later. But for best results, we're combining the two. Let's start by removing the old intake. Before we get started, we're going to disconnect the battery. But once we've done that, we're going to take a flathead screwdriver and we're going to pop the 2 plastic clips that hold our intake housing on. Once the clips are removed, we can remove our snorkel. To disconnect the MAF sensor, press on this tab to release. Take a pick and remove the harness connector from the intake box. With a small Phillips head screwdriver, we're going to remove our 2 MAF housing screws. Remove the MAF from the housing. With a flathead screwdriver, loosen the factory hose clamp. Pop the 2 airbox clips and remove the top of the airbox from the vehicle. Remove the filter element. Next, remove the 10mm nut inside the box and the 2 10mm bolts outside the box. With all the hardware removed, remove the intake box from the engine bag. Next, remove this 10mm nut and with a flathead screwdriver, loosen this band clamp. With the hardware removed and our band clamp loose, we can remove the factory intake pipe. This is the part in the video where I would get under the car and show you how to remove the belly pan. But in our particular case, we don't have a belly pan. And that's because we're under this car all the time installing parts and checking things out. So I will describe to you, even though ours doesn't have the belly pan, to remove your belly pan, there's a handful of plastic hardware that goes around for clips, and then 2 pieces of threaded hardware that you remove, and the whole belly pan comes down. Next, with a flathead screwdriver, we're going to remove this band clamp off the turbo inlet and remove the entire rubber pipe. Take 1 of our silicone ETS couplers and install it onto the turbo inlet. And then with 2 of our clamps, we are going to loosely place them over the silicone. Then we'll install our draw pipe. From the top side of the vehicle, we're going to install our draw pipe with the L bracket facing upwards. Slide the end of the pipe into the silicone. Then we can attach the pipe to this threaded hole with the provided hardware. After we tighten our hardware, we're going to go back down to the underbelly of the vehicle and tighten our 2 clamps. With both of our clamps tight, we'd be reinstalling our belly pan, which I highly recommend you do. The next step is to install the MAF sensor into our new MAF housing. Now there is a tiny O-ring around our MAF sensor, so we are going to take a little bit of silicone-based lubricant and apply it to that O-ring to make sure it doesn't rip or tear. And then we'll be installing our MAF into the housing. Now, you're going to want to make sure that the arrow matches the same orientation as the arrow on the housing. Now, luckily, if you were to put it in the opposite way, the holes don't line up. So you're going to be pretty hard pressed to put this in improperly. Secure the MAF into the housing with the new provided hardware. We can now install the MAF housing into the vehicle. We're going to do that by slipping the silicone onto the MAF housing, preloading our clamps onto our silicone, then installing this whole assembly into the vehicle. Once we've loosely installed our MAF housing onto the pipe, you're going to want to make sure that the orientation of the MAF itself is so that you can plug it in without any excess stress on your MAF harness. With all of our clamps still loose, we're going to install the air filter, Check for clearances around our ABS pump, make sure there's no interference, and with everything looking good, we're going to tighten all of our clamps. If you opted to just purchase the intake, then we can reconnect the battery and we're good to go. But because we're going with the cold air box, we still have a few more steps. With a 10mm wrench, we're going to loosen this isolator nut and this 10mm bolt. In our kit, we'll have a black powder coated L bracket, and we'll take our long 10mm bolt and we will put it onto the vehicle with the large nut facing up. With our L bracket hardware tight, we can now install the box. We have 3 pieces of hardware remaining. So with our large Allen head bolt, we are going to install that into the top of the box. And with our 2 remaining 10mm bolts, we'll install 1 into the front of the box, and finally, 1 to our lower edge. And there you have it. With our intake duct back in and our battery reconnected, we are finished with part 1 of the series. But check back when we install our charge pipe and top mount intercooler next for this VB chassis power pack from Import Image Racing. For thousands of parts just like this, plus tons more, always be sure to hit up importimageracing.com for all of the best deals on the web and in the world, and we will catch you on the next one.